I am 5 feet 9 inches tall.
Keith is often asked how tall he is.
5 feet 9 inches.
It is significant why people ask Keith how tall he is, and we've wanted to mention it in so many videos. The reason it's significant is because we are watching Keith as he is pushing below his first weight loss goal down to his second weight loss goal. And that is where we are right now, so we share progress reports with you guys each week.
Yep. So this is week 10. My weight was 170.2. Last week it was 168.8, so that means that I actually went up 1.4 pounds. Now, if you watched last week, you know that I was a little bit disappointed because I had fallen into some bad habits. I think I mentioned I felt like a wrestler trying to make weight. It was always like, it was not enjoyable. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of went back to my typical 16/8 intermittent fasting, kind of my normal way of thing. And it put me right back to 170, which is kind of where I have, been basically, for the last year and 4 months or whatever.
Right. And so that got us thinking about the theory of being a set point.
Yep, body fat set point.
Right. And I say it's a theory, I believe it probably still is a theory because it's not really understood how the body is maintaining this homeostasis or why it is. But it is certainly a phenomenon that many people have noticed in themselves, and also certainly something that has been researched quite well, and a lot to do with hormones.
It is a lot to do with hormones. There are papers that they talk about set point. Nobody really knows. It's kind of like Sasquatch. There's something there. Nobody's really been able to pinpoint what it is, right?
That's an interesting analogy.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Body fat Sasquatch point. So body fat set point is very much, it kind of goes along this idea of homeostasis in the body, where the body likes to maintain everything. It doesn't like to change a lot. So it finds that point, its body weight, which is fat mass, lean mass, whatever it is, and it likes to maintain that. So depending on what you put into it or don't put into it, it will raise your metabolism, it will lower your metabolism, it will do whatever it needs to stay at that point. Mm-hmm. And that's why a little bit of calorie restriction a lot of times just doesn't result in what we would expect it to result. If you dropped your calories 100 calories a day, you would think that in a year's time you would be down whatever. It just doesn't work that way. So some of the research seems to point to a couple of different things. And the one is the endocrine or hormonal kind of pathway and how set point works. And that's dealing with the hypothalamus, leptin, which we've all heard of. And that has to do with leptin. It's a super interesting thing, right?
Right. Well, leptin is I always say leptin's the hormone we like, because when there's a lot of circulating leptin that's being picked up in our body, it is satiating. So it is our hunger control hormone. And its target is the hypothalamus of the brain, which is where the release of many, many hormones get their start. Right. And a lot of them have to do with metabolism and regulation of appetite and things of that sort.
It's kind of like your thermostat. So it sends all the signals out to your body, including thyroid, including all your sex hormones. All of those things come from the hypothalamus. But leptin in particular is actually made by your fat cells. Mm-hmm. And because the fat cells, we found out, the body fat, is an endocrine gland, which means that it secretes different hormones. And there are a number of different things besides leptin that it secretes. But you would think then that an obese person with all the fat they have would have a lot of leptin. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't, right? So when that leptin, for whatever reason, it is dysregulated from the fat cells, and their leptin levels are low, they're always hungry.
Right, or we have leptin resistance.
Right, which is the opposite, right?
Right, so you might be an overweight person, have a lot of leptin being produced in your body, but your cells are not receiving that leptin, so it's not doing its job of satiating your hunger.
Right, somehow those receptors are bound up, or they're just not taking up the leptin. Right. So that's one way, so the hormonal thing. But there's also, they've been doing some studies with genetic issue, which I think is super, super interesting. You and I have recently done our 23andMe things. We got our raw data, and I uploaded mine and found out that one of the first genes that they mapped is called the FTO gene, FTO. And that is the major obesity gene that humans carry. Luckily for me, I am carrying like all these different SNPs on the FTO gene.
Right, and a SNP being a single nucleotide
Polymorphism.
It's basically the genetic components you get from your parents.
Yep. So you get one from dad, one from mom, and then however that matches up. You know, it either turns the genes on or it turns them off. And just because they're turned on or off does not necessarily mean that you're stuck with it, because what they found is that there's an awful lot of epigenetic control that goes on, and which epigenetics is another just emerging science. It's really cool and interesting. Epigenetics is the control of these genes, kind of the switching on and off through our environment. And the biggest part of our environment that has that effect is what we eat. So.
Right. So we are at this crossroads here a little bit.
Yep.
So Keith has lost 80 pounds and reached a set point, and now we are having trouble getting past that set point. So we are looking at the idea of, is it necessary, if you have maintained at this new set point, that you need to jolt your body, so to speak, to get it to push down to a new set point? And you were making the point that when you initially changed your diet, that was a drastic change to your body.
Thinking back to it, it was. I really didn't think that it, like in my mind, I didn't think that I was doing something like that drastic, but I did completely change all of my macronutrients, how I was eating, what I was eating, even the timing of my eating, to some extent. And I think that kind of got the needle up moving a little bit, and then my body had to kind of keep guessing and adapting as we went along. But now it's gotten to this point where it likes where it's at. So, you know, we've got to figure out what we need to do to kind of push that needle and get it moving again. And I'll be quite honest, I mean, we've already tried some different things, and we've got some other things in mind. But you know, it has not been easy. No. It's not been easy, and it's not a simple problem. And I don't want anybody to think that it is. It's I've really struggled with it. This is 10 weeks that I've lost 5.2 pounds in total. But I really haven't gone below my set point. Right? So. Right.
So here we are right now. So we're filming this. It is late December. We have Christmas in a couple of days. And then we have the New Year. And so we have a lot of social gatherings. Now, you're not going to be taking a cheat day.
Right. Yeah, I'm not going to even be taking a cheat meal, you know, quote unquote. But I also want to be able to enjoy the holidays and not be stressing over everything. So I'm just going to try and maintain. And we'll still do our weekly videos, and you know, that kind of helps to hold my feet to the fire a little bit too. But I do want to enjoy family and friends, and so we'll take a couple weeks, just kind of coast through there a little bit. And then once New Year hits, we are working on some ideas to kind of test and try some new things. The only problem with trying new things, obviously, when you're on a kind of a weight loss goal, if you try something and it happens to be the wrong thing, you can go in the wrong direction. Then that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But we're going to try and be diligent.
A bit amplified when you're doing it on YouTube.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. But anyway, that's kind of where we're at.
Yep, and we will bring that all to you. So happy holidays to all of you. Merry Christmas. We hope that you have a great time with your family and friends. And actually, we're probably filming this in the new year. So Happy New Year, everybody.
Yes, Happy New Year. Happy 2019.
All right. Catch us in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.
See you.